Welcome back to the Intentional Workplace, a podcast where we spend 15 minutes each week to talk about everything HR to improve your business. I'm Jacob Stone,
And I'm Maria Williams.
and this week we're talking about me and not for thee, the management double standard, which I think we've all witnessed, been part of, been victim to, or in some cases, been the culprit of. Um, and I think mostly the biggest issue with this one, especially in today's remote work, are how come my boss or my manager gets to work remotely 3 or 4 days a week, but he makes me come in every single day to sit in this cubicle to type on the same computer and have no interaction with anybody? What's up with that? So we'll dive into all these issues today. We'll talk about what the common occurrence is, how we can avoid those, the tough conversations around them, and what we as employees and as leaders can do to help eliminate that double standard. So, where management double standards show up most, um, I would say, is mostly within the smaller organizations. I don't know if you agree with that, Maria, but I know that with bigger ones, there tends to be more bureaucracy, hierarchy, and so they're more removed. But within those smaller to mid-sized organizations, I know that that double standard can become an issue very quickly and can lead to a very disgruntled labor force, and just an absolute toxic culture can then be created. Um, why do leaders often not even realize that they're doing it?
Yeah, and actually to that point too, I mean, I've seen this play out in big organizations too. So I think maybe for in smaller ones it can be more obvious or, easy to recognize the double standards, but it definitely happens in my experience and bigger organizations too. For sure. I think it's kind of um maybe it plays out a bit differently, but um so I think now I forgot I forgot your question.
Oh man. See? The double standard always is like,
Double
how do you
standard.
not know? Oh, you're getting written up now. Um, no, what I'm asking is, so what do leaders like what what do they often not realize about what, like,
Yeah.
how they're doing it? Like, how, like, okay, today I'm taking a golf thing, I'm taking, whatever, but I expect my the rest of my team to work late into the night, even though I'm taking off at 11 to go play golf. How come they don't realize that? Like, that's hacking everybody off.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's possibly just a sense of feeling different in terms of the leadership team, like us versus them almost mentality in an organization. Like the leadership team is kind of at in its own bucket with its own kind of rules and does its own thing versus the rest of the organization. Um and I think there's ways that an organization can address that in terms of building in more kind of transparency, more collaboration across the full organization, and making sure that things that are discussed at leadership levels do trickle down to the organization and have more of that, not so much a sense of hierarchy, like, or the us versus them mentality. But I think that's likely where some of that comes from is just, oh, we're creating the rules for the organization, but maybe those rules don't necessarily apply to us. I think
There's a
sometimes, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, 'cause there is, I wanna piggyback off that because I think you're hitting it right on, is there's this sense of entitlement,
Mhm.
um, when you get into leadership. I'm entitled to X, Y, and Z and special privileges, and that can be it's true to a certain extent, right? I mean, that's the benefit as you climb up that
For
ladder.
sure.
But I have this entitlement that I dictate everything. I'm the one that's important. I am so disconnected from being down in the trenches that what are they gonna do about it? And it's not always like that, but I think, and I'm speaking in hyperbole, certainly in some circumstances, but I think that that is really the genesis of it. I think a good way to solve that, and I would love to get your opinion on this as well, is to just nip that in the bud, is to establish a very strong employee engagement system.
Mhm.
So where you're empowering everybody, it does a couple of things. One, it keeps your employees engaged. helps them move up and be more productive. It also allows them to feel certain benefits, right? And quote unquote special.
Mhm.
And then it also humbles down leadership because now I'm helping educate or I'm helping create a path for my employees to then move up to my level. So that way I'm not just this hierarchy. I'm not just sitting down on top of you, but I'm actively promoting and helping you move up the ladder. And so I think establishing a employee engagement program, like a professional betterment program, I think are all those things will help alleviate that double standard.
Mhm.
What do you think?
For sure. I think that's great. I think any kind of development programs for organizations are a good idea, and that can be any size company. And also, what I've seen work well too is making sure for some leadership discussions, not all, but because that doesn't make sense for all, but for some that makes sense, pull in other people into those meetings, pull in top performers from the organization at various levels to present something, to even to sit in on some discussions. To I've found that has worked really well too, to kind of help break down the silos of that us versus them, and kind of
Mhm.
create more of a this is what happens in these meetings, and also gives people a chance to have some more visibility and get in front of the leaders. So I think that's another thing that that's an easy something easy to implement, and I've seen it work really well. A- and
So
also
let's well, I was gonna say, so I because that's important. What Let's say that you have a leader that they recognize this. There's this hierarchy. They're starting to do that where they're pulling people in because I think that's like I think that's perfect. You know, you're exposing them, they're including
Mhm.
them.
Yep.
What happens if there's a partnership, right? Like in a smaller business, let's say, or a medium sized one, where one manager, because we've all been in this too, where one manager is really cool. He's chill. We like this guy. He's like one of us, right? He has his best, and then you get the other one that's like he's a real schmuck. You know, he's oh god, he walks around all day. Blah, blah, blah. If you're the former leader and you recognize that your partner, the other manager, whatever, is just doing that whole entitled thing, what steps can you take to help either A, bring that to his attention, and
Mhm.
also to help keep the culture and the integrity and the work ethic of the people that you're leading?
Yeah, in our last conversation, we talked about our last episode, we talked about tough conversations, and I think that can certainly apply to peers in a team, not just kind of a manager to employee type of scenario. So, I mean, in that type of situation, that should be I mean, that's a good feedback opportunity for the one manager to share with the other and be specific about, hey, I've noticed that, when you say X, Y, and Z, or come, or, have this type of behavior in this type of setting, this is what the impact is. And I've seen people have come to me even, and shared how they feel about it, and be open and honest. And that's not an easy conversation to have with a peer. That's a tough one, but it's an important one, and hopefully it can help that person grow. So that's one. Another way is just in kind of a group setting. So maybe it is a broader leadership meeting or whatever, and you can bring up, not call this person out, but bring up ways that as a group and as a team, um, you think, you could all, pull other people and be those kind of leaders that the rest of the team looks up to, and just kind of try to energize the team on how to show the right behaviors to the organization, and kind of do it in that way. But I'm a big proponent of just having that tough feedback conversation with a peer. Why not? I mean, I think it'll be good for him too, to hear that, and often it resonates more when it comes from somebody at the same level. So
Yeah, for sure.
and one thing too, that when I think about this topic, that just kind of came to mind as we're talking about the double standards, um, we leaders should not be treating employees as like children. And it's one thing that came to mind is like the do as I say kind of thing, or because I said so, or that type of thing that for those
Well,
of
hold
us
on
who
a
are
second.
parents.
Can you just repeat that one more time? Because I think some people might need to hear that just a little more clear.
Do as I say
Yeah.
because I said so.
Yeah.
Don't treat the organization as children. And for those of us who are parents are used to saying those things. And because I'm the parent, you just need to listen to me. I don't need to explain myself. I can do things differently, but you need to do things this way. Um, and that is, you can't get into that trap in a workplace.
No.
But I've seen it, like, then that is sort of that double standard. Like, this is what I said you're going to do. I'm not going to explain why, and I'm not going to do it that way, but this is what you should do. Like, that's treating the rest of the organization in a way that is not, you know, should not happen in a workplace.
Every organization that I've worked with that has high turnover, this isn't like some of them. This isn't like every once in a while, this is
Yeah.
every single one of them that has high turnover has this issue. Every single one. It is they don't treat their employees like adults. I hired you because you wanna be here because I think you're the best person for this job, and so I'm gonna give you the dignity and the respect to go out there and do what you're hired to do. I am a resource for you. I am here to help lead you. I am here to help you become more successful. And the companies that don't do that are the ones that see people leaving month after month, and I don't know why we can't keep anyone. It must just be because all these entitled millennials and all that kind of stuff is hogwash.
Yep.
It is you need to treat your employees with dignity, respect, and as adults. I think that was perfect, Maria. Perfectly said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think that's, I hate to call it out that way, but that's, I think that's, this conversation just reminded me of that parent child relationship. And another place that I've seen this play out is when it comes to kind of that work life balance, if you want to call it that, and having that double standard too. And this ties in, as most of our conversations do, to another episode when we talked about the values versus reality. But if a leader is talking about the importance of you know take spending time outside of work and taking vacation and all of those things, but then I mean is expecting immediate response times for a team member when they are on vacation or when they're doing something. So that's another thing that I've seen quite often with leaders is like not it's not specifically the words that are the double standards, but the behaviors. And when they're
Mhm.
expecting something very different from their teams than what they themselves are displaying or what they're voicing, that can become an issue too, because that can quickly take away the trust in a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Well,
We can go on for a year on this thing, but we only have 15 minutes. So I'm
I
like,
know,
I'm like, I can just goop, 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 goop like this, but
I know.
we can
Me
always
too.
come back to these episodes. I think that this is a very important conversation, especially for leadership, for management, as well as this concept of managing upwards. So if you are an employee experiencing this, what can you do? I like my job. I actually like the company I work with, but man, does Frank, my manager, just hound me because he's off. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He expects unrealistic stuff from me, and so that's not fair. How do I, you know, what do I do for that? I think that's a whole other conversation that we can have down the road, and I think it should absolutely be addressed.
Yep, that's right. So I think, yeah, a question that everybody can ask themselves is kind of if you're any leaders out there, anyone in management, it's kind of, if your team mirrored your behavior exactly, would you be proud of the culture that creates? I think that's a good question to kind of close with and ask yourself, to eliminate those double standards.
Mhm.
So great conversation. Thanks for joining us. And next episode, we will talk about the multi generational workplace from friction to strength. That will be our
Ooh,
topic next time. So tune in.
it's gonna be a good one. Stream wherever you get
Great.
your podcasts, and we'll talk to you next week.
All righty. Thank you. Bye.